Hello there, my name is Kyle Varela and I will be your guide to instant learning about here and now. What we have here are two coinciding in near position plaques of a public open space that are from two different eras of specific public open space guidelines that are indicating for the same public open space. And let me show you these amazing plaques. They will really be sure to wow and dazzle your synapses. Plaza, open at all times. Seating capacity 100. Restrooms ADA accessible. As in ADA accessible all the time. Restroom and seating also all the time. They're all under the category of amenities. Building management office. This may be this office. It may, yeah, it actually appears it is. It says 555 mission. It says 555 mission. This is a plaza open at all times. Note the times that it's open at all times. This is right to pass by permission of owner and subject to control of owner. Now, when they move the of owner to the back of the two mentions here, it changes the kind of apparent meaning, but right to pass by permission of owner is not revocable, and it's in place for the specific purpose of preventing you from being able to be trespassing when you're on their property. You have all permission to be on their property, and you can't be trespassing on it no matter what someone tells you if one of these signs is there. The reason for that is so that they don't have the occurrence of someone homesteading on their property, which is the way that everyone in the city, at some point before the property was settled, came to own the property. It requires a few, specific requirements. Requires a few requirements. It does require a few, how would you say it? A few specific types of settling. One, it has to be in the open and hostile, as in you have to be being told that you can't be being there. You have to be trespassing in order to be able to homestead. If someone comes up and says, "That's great that you're here. You owe $280 in rent this week," and you're late on it, then you aren't hostilely homesteading. Then you're renting and you're late on your rent, and that's a different scenario altogether. If someone is, saying something other than that, such as that you're homesteading, the form of the convention changes for the, for the sanctity of our individuality, beings and our existences and such. If this sign is the same as this sign, which it is, and I'm indicating that this is the downtown plan era, and this is a modern public open spaces sign that has the details of a downtown plan era public open space, then this, being that equivalent, means that all of these that are the equivalent of this are also the equivalent of this, with this lovely tree, public open space, the newer guidelines that have more ability to address the credits that each high-rise comes to owe due to the fine art guidelines of the San Francisco Downtown Planning Commission, which indicate, I think it's $1 per $100 goes to fine art specifically, dedicated to the city, and 2 feet per 100 square feet, 2 square feet per 100 square feet go to public open space, per how much commercial and residential and other not open space that these large buildings desire to have allowed in their permit, and which aren't approved until they and the Planning Commission have come to a agreement on what the public open space and fine art credits that they will owe or want to be owing by going outside of the allowable, like 5 stories or whatever it is, that there's some, the, standard building code, and, then when they do come to that agreement, the zoning commission signs off on the permit, and then the place is able to be built, and then the signs go up per adherence to the the agreement and the guidelines in all of the public open space program. And it's not too hard to see that when they alter and change their opinion on if they like the public open space, or if they are going to honor the the actual zoning land use law that determines if it's usable at this time or that time or whatever, or whatever it is, they don't really have a whole lot of resistance or active enforcement that I've noticed. Yet the building remains far, far out of what would normally be allowed in the zoning commission's permittable downtown architecture, and I believe that is problematic, as it is in any sort of way something that reduces the whole functional use and dynamic potential for other cooperations with the zoning commission, with property developers. It's not fair to future aspirations to make architectural landmarks in the city, as they have to follow in the already participating or not, in some cases, property development corporations and management and all of that. So write to your local congressman or congresswoman, write to your congressman or congresswoman if you happen to feel, as I do, and that is a part of the land use, which is a pretty significant part of the law. It's actually huge, no pun intended. That there is that the land use laws and conventions are somewhat at least to say the least, misunderstood by the general public, which is a concern of the Congress and the House. Hence, curriculum for certain amounts of legal education in school and such, without just generally a base knowledge of what freedom in America is and what it really means, and what the land use and interaction and integration and independent pursuit of happiness and everything that it goes into it. Without that sufficient base of knowledge, not only do people willingly give up their rights, which is their right, but unfortunately they're also do the rights of people who otherwise would expect and understanding, their enfranchisement within citizenship in America, their rights unfairly lessened, and it's not a unsolvable problem. Education is like the easiestly solvable problem. It's like the first place we start in life on solving problems, and it, might not always take, as they say, or it might not be, the right form of education or the right conditions or interest aspects or situation or whatever, but it is the right informational content for people who have the, if it is available or is accurate, being that doesn't always necessarily need to be presentation perfect, and I am definitely highly in favor of information availability without a sort of concern for the, lack thereof in its use, when particularly information has not a whole lot of overhead and, infinite universes worth of potential for furtherance of progress. I like that phrase, furtherance of progress. I don't know if I'm the first person to note it, but I hope that if I'm not, that it is grammatically sufficient, so that the other person who, or whoever else has noticed that phrase, is, grammatically just however much more that puts them into the zone that they wish to be in their grammatic conversion of, impromptu speaking, verbiage, and what have you. Furtherance of progress. Anyway, so, thanks for joining me on my quick and somewhat stumbled upon literarily or grammatically or whatever, but hopefully well understandable enough to be interesting, useful, and mystifying. Like, what was it? Downtown open spaces. What's the word? Familiarity. What is it? Familiarity facilitating. Informational web description. I'm pretty sure that it wasn't. That was what I, had to kind of fathom was more or less what I had chose to name it in the sort of theme of in and of that moment. Let me try to repeat the slightly over specific name of the the web notion that this small web informational moment is. I think I was calling it a web city open spaces familiarity facilitating bygone era of friends at the phone to call each other or to wait for a call. Web spot and blog. Just for kicks. But whatever it was that I called it, have no doubt that I much appreciate your taking the time to check it out. And with that, have a good evening, and or whatever daytime is coming up ahead in your day, moments or life experiences. Have a great one. Peace.
I'm gonna roster.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
St. Peter's taking me out. Shoot me good.